What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Cuddle with Purpose YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on our podcast, Cuddle with Purpose, on Apple and Spotify and all other podcast platforms. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about Monique Samuels and her husband, Chris Samuel, Love and Marriage DC. And it has been brought out that Monique Samuels and Chris Samuels will not be casting in season 2, and it's bringing on a lot of conversations across all reality TV shows, from fans to people that's in that actual curriculum, and it's bringing up a lot of alarms. I know for me and my wife, we've talked about it a lot, far as with the dynamics, even when it first came out with rumors of Ashley Darby had brought it out, and then it was put in People's Magazine that both Monique Samuels and Chris Samuels was separated. And then they had made a video, Monique and her husband Chris, stating that it wasn't true. Now it comes to the fold that they're not even going to be airing on any of the episodes. And it just brings a reason to pause for me, TT, right, that there's something going on.
Definitely. For me, I really was surprised that I hadn't seen them on the actual rollout or the trailer for what's coming in the new year for the for the show to start in January. But based upon what was shared at BravoCon from Ashley, and then the kind of the cleanup, and then what others have reported, for me, I'm a little glad that they decided to make the mature decision to say, you know what, we're not going to tape right now. We're not going to exploit our family and show all the quarrels and issues of going through a separation. Just because if we look at what has transpired in other shows, or even with the other part of the franchise between Melody and Martell on Huntsville, it was quite rough. Not just rough for them, but rough for the children. And it seems to me that they really care about their image. That's something that I noticed both from when they were on Housewives of Potomac, as well as what their mission was, and how they wanted people to view marriage coming into this actual show, which is Love and Marriage DC. So I'm disappointed to see that they're not returning, but I do believe that Monique will be returning back to reality TV once this all is settled. I think that she's just protecting her family. I think that she's not trying to add any additional level of stress, rumors, havoc, because we all know that the media and the fans and the trolls all will add on an additional layer to what's already going on. And this is a serious matter. So this is not, there is no requirement that they have to entertain the world on something that's really happening in their life. So that's how I feel about it.
I know for Color with Purpose, we celebrate love. It doesn't matter the color of your skin.
Right.
It doesn't matter your ethnicity. We celebrate love, period. It just so happened we love to watch and talk about our reality cast members. And I think for me, it threw me for a loop, but not really. If you really been watching Monique Samuels and her husband Chris throughout their series of being on reality shows, there has been some drama. And listen, there is no perfect marriage.
Facts.
In marriage, you're going to have disagreements. And truth be told, there's going to be arguments. There's going to be times that your spouse is going to get on your damn nerves. That's just facts, man. So with that being said, I do know that there is something serious that's going on behind the scenes that we are not privy to. And I do agree with you when you said that, I believe they both came to a decision. They don't want to air any more dirty laundry out to the public for them to see, and also to protect their children as well. And they deserve that right. I think at the end of the day, I'm not going to be that person that's going to say, hey, I pray they're able to work things out, because listen, I don't live in their house. I don't know what the circumstance is. Maybe the best solution is for them to be apart.
And that's true. That's
very
true.
Who we can say that. And I think at the end of the day, my heart goes out to the children, and I just pray that they're able to coexist as co-parents if they feel that is the best decision for them moving forward, and to remain as somewhat as friends for the betterment of the children. Do you agree?
I definitely agree with that. And when I think about their dynamics, starting from Housewives of Potomac, and even just transitioning into Love and Marriage DC, I've always noticed that there was a level of issues with communication, and that was something that they both brought to the forefront. Monique harped on it many, many, many times, and talking about, the things that were missing as far as communication, the level of dismissing between the two, the level of disregard, and respect, I believe, too. I mean, there was even disrespect from his mother towards her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite cruel in so many levels.
You saying the way Chris Samuels' mother was treating her?
Yes. I think that was very disrespectful, and she had no rights, to act that way towards her. But I feel like I believe that he may have responded or said something to his mother to correct that, or there was some type of boundaries that was set at some point. Not quite sure.
It was.
But I do respect that being put in place. But I do feel like she's mentioned that there was an issue in the dynamics of who provides, and and that the fact that he doesn't feel like he had to show up in various ways because he provided the financial backing. But from what I could see, she seemed to be a very hands-on mother as well as a very hands-on wife. I can't really speak to the rumors that came out that Giselle brought to the last show. And I don't want to say that there's any validity or truth to it, but we don't
Alleged. It's no facts. It's alleged.
It's all alleged.
Yes.
And he even dismissed it, And so I don't know. We don't know what the issue is, but what I do know, especially with us going into our 7th year of marriage this upcoming year, that there is way more issues in relationships than just infidelity, And so I think that the world, because of watching shows like Love and Hip Hop, and that's all you actually see, there's no type of monogamy going on, and you just see cheating, and it has almost become the norm. And this narrative that all men cheat, or nobody can just be with one person, I think it's so false. But there are so many other issues in communication. A lack of communication and respect in a relationship can really, really ruin a relationship, to the point where you want to be living separate lives even when you're in a house with the individual. And what I saw in some of the conversations and the little bit that she did reveal, because it seemed to me that when she would speak about her marriage, she was trying to be as truthful without being so blatant
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because, you know, you when you're on reality TV, you gotta give them something. You gotta give
Mm-hmm.
them something. And I feel like she was trying to be as honest as possible, as well as Chris. But I feel like at the same time, they couldn't like outright say all of what was going on. But it seemed like it was some stuff that was going down. And it's so unfortunate, man.
Yeah. It is, T. And I think for me, what's a major red flag is when the People magazine came out. They made an article.
Right.
This was back on October the 16th, 2022. And they published, and the title of the article was Real Housewives of Potomac alum Monique Samuels and husband Chris are separating after 10 years of marriage. I'm going to say this, TT.
Say it, babe.
People magazine is a very legit company.
Very reputable company.
Very reputable. They're almost there. And some will argue that they're on the same levels of TMZ.
Yeah.
When TMZ brings out information, 9.8 times out of 10 is correct.
Yeah.
And you know what even brings it even more truthful to People magazine is that, and I stated this earlier in this conversation, is that Ashley Darby stated, because she is still in relationship or good standing with Monique and they're considered friends. And Ashley Darby had even said it on Real Housewives of Potomac, was that Monique and Chris are separated, and she was told that by Monique. So when Monique and Chris came out with a video based off on all these rumors that's being out here from People magazine and also from Ashley Darby, and they said it wasn't true, you at some point you have to take their word for it, because they're the one that's married. They're the one at the relationship. But at the end of the day, that information does not get put out there unless someone put it out there from their account.
And
Monique or Chris.
Exactly. So what I've come to realize in this life, that if you don't want anybody to repeat something, you don't want the world to know, then just don't say it out loud. Like, that's just, you just don't do that. Like, you can allow people to speculate. You can allow people to create their own narratives, their own stories, because people just want to know. And if they don't have a story, they're going to make up their own, because that's just
absolutely
what people do, even though it's nonsense to me. But I do agree with you. I feel like People's Magazine is a very reputable publisher, and I think that the issue was maybe they weren't able to tell their own story, and they weren't able to get ahead of it and
like someone like controlling their own narrative. Yeah, they want to control it.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to control your own narrative. I think that there's power in being able to say, hey, you know, this is what's going on in our life, and this is how things are going down. But I also feel like you just have to know that when you are especially dealing with these women that are on reality TV, part of them being relevant is being able to disclose juicy information that may be about somebody else. And they'll, even though they may quote unquote be your friend off the camera, listen, they might out you even without you giving them permission to do so.
They act totally different when the lights come on.
Bruh, they might go ahead and spill a little bit of tea just so it could be like, ooh, you know, Ashley know a little something. And I guarantee you, she wasn't probably telling Ashley for Ashley to go out and tell everybody, oh yeah, she's having issues in her relationship or in her life, or having a hard time. Like, that wasn't, I'm sure that's not what she wanted. If it is, then maybe she was strategic in it, but I don't believe that she would want somebody else to be speaking on her behalf, especially since she came on and denounced what Ashley said. So, with that being said, I am looking forward to this season despite them not coming. I do feel like they have a great quality that they bring, to the show.
Absolutely.
They were a real couple,
Yes.
they really have built something together.
Mm-hmm.
I like that they had a level of decency about them. I think that's what made them like very, what's the word I'm looking for, relatable.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's what makes me respect them even the more, because they chose not to record the issues that they're dealing with today. You can tell that they're real people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not about that BS. Like, they really aren't about, for the fact of drama and bringing some zhuzh to the show. We're going to go ahead and record the fact that we are going through a separation. Now we're going to take this off TV. We're going to sit this out. And then we're going to deal with the situation head on without people being all up in our business. They can create whatever narrative they want, And Monique has her own YouTube channel and her own social media, so she can at any point in time state her stance on what's taking place and go from there.
Yeah, I just think you can just feel, far as I can feel, there is a lot of emotions in their marriage right now.
Yeah.
And I saw that in the first season of Love and Marriage DC. Mm-hmm. You can see that they wasn't on the same page. You saw a lot of turmoil. You saw, I do believe that they love each other. But at the same time, you could just tell that there was just something that was eating at both of them.
A disconnect.
It was a strong, and for me, and T, I don't know about you, because I can't speak for you on this topic, but I felt like Monique really was just driving and digging that nail into Chris, like he didn't get what she needed in their marriage.
Yes.
And I felt she kept driving it home almost like a hammer hitting down on the nail. Yeah. And she got very emotional. She got pissed off at times. And it just seemed like there was just an empty void for her.
That's exactly what I saw. And it was unfortunate because Chris doesn't strike me to be a person that's really about lying or being in a certain situation.
No.
So what I heard him say is that he understood, but he wasn't necessarily so much willing to do all the changing, And sometimes people are who they are, And sometimes things can happen and it just goes too far. I think there is something when they say fighting fear. And I feel like some of their fights got unfair.
Yeah.
I feel like it got brutal, it got harsh, it got prideful. A bunch of ego stuff kind of got in the way, because you're talking about two alpha individuals.
Yeah.
Monique is definitely an alpha female and Chris is definitely an alpha man. And I feel like they worked through this as long as they could. They are two Christian individuals. They showed in the first or the last episodes or whatever in Potomac that they had a pastor that they were seeking counsel from, And so you can see that they were doing the work as far as counseling. You can see that they were seeking guidance in some ways. And then you have two people who really you can tell that they loved each other. But sometimes you come to the end of the road, and I think it's just unfortunate because we, as people, we want people to love. We don't want to see relationships that look the part fall apart.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I think they were just at their wits' end. And I do feel like, from just looking at how relationships have gone as we've watched and become more familiar with reality TV, that it can definitely, if it can expose some things, it can really break it down if they don't have a strong foundation.
Yeah, we said that, and one thing about it, it says in the article that back in July, Monique Samuels had told Entertainment Tonight, because she was asked about the state of her marriage while they was filming on the Real Housewives of Potomac. And she said that people always say that reality TV tears your marriage down. What people don't realize, Monique said, is that Real Housewives of Potomac actually in some ways saved my marriage, she revealed. And she went on to say that Chris and I, before we started filming that show, we were really in a rough place. Let me tell you something. That's a lot of honesty there.
Yeah.
And this goes to show you is that if your marriage was already in a rough place, anytime you take your marriage to a public setting, it can definitely be a recipe that can go downhill real quick because everything is expounded times 10.
Yeah.
And what you say, what you do, you already have to deal with rumors.
Yeah. and people making up stuff.
You already got to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
So we're not even talking about that yet.
Right.
But if you're already in a rough place,
Right.
damn, man, you're starting already behind the 8 ball.
You really are. I just feel like it's nothing wrong with reality TV because it really has allowed you to look at different scenarios and different marriages in different light, and outside of the people that create these fake or quote unquote storylines, but you can kind of differentiate what is real from what is fake.
Absolutely.
Right? You can read into that. If you're a real person, you're in a real relationship, real marriage, so on and so forth. But I appreciate her being transparent about that and showing a level of authenticity. I feel like they have really looked and assessed, and they've had time to do so. They've gone through some things. Things that we may be a little privy of because she kind of touches on it, but in a very abstract way, I should say.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not something like direct, like, okay, this is exactly what it is. Because it's like, okay, all right, Monique. Okay, so he's not getting it. He's not telling you who he wants to be or who he is and these things. I think that's really important. I understand where she was coming from, but I also wanted to hear from Monique in the last season what she felt she could change.
That's it.
What she felt
that's it.
She could shift about
that's
her
it.
ways and how she did things.
That's it.
And the work that she was doing, because that's what I wanted to hear. What I kept hearing was Chris isn't doing the work, but I wanted to know what was the work that she was doing. And I do know that if everybody's not on the same page, then that can become a problem. So, because we still don't know, it could have very well been in the situation where she could have done some work, right? And like he said, he had to catch up to it. So that could have been the situation too. So this could have been a situation where he reverted right back to it. It could have been where he wasn't holding up his end of the bargain, because what we do know, this has nothing to do with finances. This has nothing to do with any of that. It has simply to do with their relationship and who the person is.
Right.
Meaning Monique and Chris.
Right. It takes two. I think at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, is, marriage is not easy, man. And I think you have to work at marriage. And it's a give and take in marriage.
Yeah.
But one thing I think is constant is you can't go into the marriage and trying to change your partner and want your partner to be who you want them to be.
Right.
I think you're going to meet more resistance than a partnership.
Yes.
And I think in this, you hit it on the head for me, is that it got old to a sense because I always felt like she was bashing him to a standpoint on what she felt like she wasn't getting in the marriage. And it was very little about him saying, okay, I'm not getting this in the marriage.
Right.
And I think anytime when it goes one-sided like that, it could be a recipe for discord in your marriage. And we're seeing a living example of, I think things just got out of hand. And when things get too far out of hand, if you're not careful, it can go somewhere where it's at a point of no return.
Yeah. And they're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
I think once you have lost that friendship, you're doomed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're doomed, because I truly understand when they say that marriage is a decision that you make every day of your life. You have to literally wake up and decide, I'm going to show up and be in this marriage, not just be married, because I feel like you can be married and be disrespectful and a straight bitch, right? But you can also show up and say, how can I contribute to us having a better day in our marriage? Because it's a daily walk.
It is.
It's a daily walk.
It is.
And it's not about always pointing the finger and poking at the other person.
Right.
It's not always about you saying exactly what's on your mind or stating your opinion or feeling like you can pick that person apart. It's about letting things just flow. You've said your piece. You've given your insights. You've told your dislikes. You have done what you need to do, but it's about, like, focus on you. What can you do to make this a positive experience?
Right.
And go from there. And if the shit ain't working, then maybe it's time to unask this thing. Maybe it's time to sit it out. Like they decide to sit this season out and say, you know what? We got to go ahead and sever ties. We got to go ahead and let this thing go.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, man, it's important for both partners to be happy with each other. Yeah. And I think when you're not happy with each other, you have to reevaluate some things and not pushing and saying that divorce is the answer. But I think you have to push the reset button and try to find that friendship back again, that happiness, that safe place. Yeah. And I thought that they was finding it on the latter part of end of last season.
Right.
But it appears that it's something that's deeper there. Is something I feel is almost like a sense of disdain, of disrespect. Somewhere down the line where pressure busts a pipe and said, you know what, I can't deal with this anymore.
You know, when you said that just now, it reminded me of when Monique said I think they were coming back from Africa. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they were packing for Africa, but that's when they had that whole big moment with production and they ended up going in separate rooms. But her just saying, I want more out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And
she kept pushing for that thing.
But you know what? It's real, though. I get it, because you want more than just being in the house. You know, like she's not one of those people that's like trying to go on no shopping spree, right? She's not asking for material things. she's asking for intimacy. She's asking for time. She's asking for conversation. She's asking for this word she kept using, depth. And depth is so important because when you're at the surface, you're not getting anywhere. It's just like you're acting. You're not having a moment. You're not having an experience. You're not having a moment where you look at your spouse and be like, dang, they get me. Like, he understands me. That's my safe space. And I don't feel like she must have been getting that at that point. You know, it's sad.
On the outside looking in, and I'm just saying because I don't live in their household, but on the outside looking in, one will argue for me. I'm like, damn, what more do you want? I mean, the man loves you, the man take care of you. I mean, y'all help me. I mean, damn. I like, and I just want to get to the point of Ashley Silver and remember her husband with Ashley Silver and DJ Quicksilver. Remember, that was the same thing that, Ashley was saying, how she wanted her husband to have a more of an intimate, relationship with her. And you got to realize his background, DJ Quicksilver background, was like, when he was growing up, he was taught to not cry. He was taught to not get so emotional.
Right.
And I just feel this is one of those things, and this is what me and UTT, we always talk about. You have two different personalities.
Right. That's true.
And you're not going to be the same.
That's
and I
true.
think the most important part is you got to work it out. You should work it out. It shouldn't get to the point where I feel you should make someone feel so bad, I'm not getting this. See, that's the problem. I'm not getting this intimacy. I'm not getting this, and I'm not downgrading on how she feels, but I just feel we've heard this story several times.
Well, that's because it's been going on for so long, and that's still the narrative. And maybe it's to the point where she's not getting what she needs, and if she's not getting what she needs, it's time to exit left. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with coming to the point in a relationship where, okay, quote, the world feels like you have everything, but if you don't feel like you have the key ingredient, because everybody needs something specific. And if we're and that's why love language is very important. As much as people may marginalize that, everybody needs specific things, right?
That's true.
And so when you've gotten to the point where you feel empty and you're at a place of unhappiness and it is evident that you're not receiving what it is that you need for this relationship to move forward. Because at this point, she's not trying to be in something just for the sake of her children. You see what I'm saying? She's not trying to do that. So now it's like, we're not going to just be roommates. The days are over where people are trying to be roommates, right? She's not trying to say, oh, I'm going to wait until my kids turn 18 years old in order for me to get, for me to be happy. She's like she ain't about to give up her baby making years just to say we staying in this relationship. Now you like torturing yourself for what? So you can stay in a $4 million house? No. She's saying, listen, I want more. And I deserve more, and I'm giving you the time and the opportunity. And I've talked to you for not just 1 year, 6 months, but we're talking about years because we've watched it on TV for years of her discussing the same thing. And if this is the reason behind it all, then hey, she got to figure out her 80-20, and maybe she done figure out her 80-20, and maybe whatever falls within that 80 and that 20. I guess that's maybe what she's looking for. I'm assuming she may have been the one that's filing, but we haven't seen anything in the courts yet to know. But man, babe, we'll find out.
We'll see, man. But hey, y'all do us a favor. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification and comment on our YouTube channel, Cuddle with Purpose. You can also find us on Apple and Spotify and all podcast platforms. You can subscribe to us and follow us and just comment. Let us know, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about the marriage and where it's at for Monique Samuels and Chris Samuels? Do you feel that it's more of Monique not getting what she want, like my wife was saying, with intimacy? Or do you feel from Chris Samuels' point, he's like, damn, I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. I can't deal with all this complaining. It's getting to the point where you make me out like I'm the bad guy, like I ain't doing shit, and I'm just tired of it. Right. So which one do y'all lean on? Do you lean more on Monique Samuels or do you lean more on Chris Samuels? Let us know in the comment section, and definitely hit that bell notification so that way when we do upload daily content, you'll get notified and be able to listen to us break down on different relationships and dynamics and on these reality TV shows. Because at the end of the day, even though it's reality TV, their relationship and marriage is very real.
Real.
And y'all take care, and always
cuddle with purpose.
Cuddle with purpose.